Classroom procedures. Number 1, cell phones and other electronic devices. Cell phones, etc., may not be seen or heard. If this happens, it will be taken away and turned into student services. A parent will be called and you must go to student services to retrieve them. If your cell phone is out during a quiz or a test, even on your lap, you will automatically be given a 0. No exceptions. This is your warning. No texting during class. If this happens, it will be taken away and turned into student services. A parent will be called and must go to student services to retrieve them. I am your teacher and you need to pay attention while I am teaching so you get a good grade. No purses or backpacks on the desk because people like to hide their cell phones. Paying attention in class. Do not do your homework for another class or text your friends while I'm teaching or explaining or any other time and then complain that you don't understand. This is not study hall. This is not time for you to do your math homework. Clearly write your first and last name on your paper. Again, we're not in kindergarten anymore. We're just first names, especially at the beginning of the year. I need to know who everyone is. Entering the classroom. When entering the classroom, it is imperative that the student proceeds directly to their assigned seats. Students are to walk, not run, in a quiet manner. Students are not to touch anyone else's desk or belongings, including the teacher's desk. If there is a lab set up on the side of the classroom, students are not permitted to go to the side and touch any of the equipment. Tardy policy. Tardiness is defined as not being in your assigned seat at the sound of the last bell. Approaching your seat is acceptable if you are in close proximity. Standing and talking or streaking through the door is not acceptable. If you enter the classroom and put your books on the desk and leave without teacher permission, you will be tardy and sent to an administrator, which are on the end of the hallways, to receive an administrative detention. No warnings. Tardy procedures will strictly follow the school guidelines. Listening to responding to questions. When the teacher is asking questions, wait until the teacher has finished asking the entire question before raising your hand. Do not call out the answer. Everyone in the class deserves a chance to be called on. So if you raise your hand every time, do not expect to be called on. When responding to questions, make sure to answer the question only and not ask something that's not asked. Do not call out like, these are my personal pet peeves. So don't call out like, what's today's date? How do you spell that? Who has paper? These are things you're supposed to do before class. Indicate when do you understand. The whole purpose of a teacher is to teach you. Part of that job requires explanations. If you do not understand something, do not hesitate to raise your hand and indicate such. Okay? So do this in the beginning. I'm your teacher. That's my job. Please ask questions. That's what I'm here for. Read your book. So I'm going to have notes on Edline. I'm going to be teaching in class. There's going to be a bunch of resources, and the book is a resource. So even though I am not going to require you to bring your textbook to class every day, there are things in your textbook that you should also read. So the teacher's supposed to help you. Again, this is my job, but please don't ask me like, what's after I teach something the next day if you're reading it and say, what's the definition of an acceleration? Okay? I like to spend class time going over problems and explaining things that you cannot read from a textbook like a definition or a unit or something like that. Coming to attention, science classrooms require laboratory experiments. Laboratory experiments require students to work in cooperative learning groups. When working in groups or any other time the teacher needs to get your attention, there is a certain procedure to be followed in the classroom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my hand. When you see my hand up, one person will see it. When you see them staring, everyone needs to look. And then putting my hand up means I have something that I need to say that's important. When you are absent, when the student is absent and returns, the attendance policy will be followed in the handbook. It is the student's responsibility to obtain the makeup work from the appropriate place and to make arrangements to make up quizzes and tests. Do not expect to turn in all your makeup work at the end of the marking period. So October 21st, it's not like, here's all my makeup work from August. See student handbook for the day-to-day rules. Late work will not be accepted. I use Edline all the time, so you need to check Edline for quizzes, tests, When you walk into my classroom, you are never going to ask me, what did we do yesterday? Because it's on Edline. What do I need to do? When you are absent, you need to write on your makeup work, absent, so this way I know, and then I can check that you were actually absent to turn that paper in. Again, this is number 14 as you're following along. I put everything on Edline. I put the notes after we go over the homework. I put the solutions. Once we have a test on a chapter, I take it off because I put all the information for the next chapter. So do not ask me for information once we start the next chapter. So let's say you miss the test. It's your responsibility to print everything out before we do the next chapter. And let me just tell you, I spend many extra hours after school putting all this stuff on Edline to help you. So I am doing my job, so please do yours as a student. Do not ask, what are we doing today, again, because all the lesson plans are always going to be on Edline if you look right now until the next test. And it's going to be weeks in advance. So I have the calendar on Edline. You need to look at it. Check Edline to know to bring the textbook. We're rarely going to do it, so you don't have to say, do I need to bring my book tomorrow? But I will remind you on the few times that we'll need it. All right, let's flip over to the back. Working cooperatively. So this is a science class. In laboratory experiments, students will work in assigned groups. The groups will be posted once we do a lab, which will be the first week of school. During group work, students are not to move about the classroom. They are to be with their assigned group in their assigned location, performing the assigned task. You are not allowed to change your groups. If you feel you have a problem with someone, let me know. Keeping your notebook. We have to have a notebook in this class. Notebook is required and will be used throughout the entire school year. All your notes, homework, labs, quizzes must be in there. When you need help, I'm available for help before and after school. I have 7th hour off. Nobody's floating in my classroom. If you need help during 7th hour, just make arrangements so I can make sure I'm here. I do have duty at the end of the hallway, the first and third marking period. Collecting, returning student work. Homework is due at the beginning of the next class period. The work is to be turned in the black bin on my desk. No late homework will be accepted. So like half an hour into the class, you can't say, oh, I found this in my notebook. I forgot to turn it in because it's too late. I will return it in a timely fashion. Getting materials without disturbing others. Students are required to be prepared with every necessary supplies every class period. If the student lost a writing implement or ran out of notebook paper, it is your responsibility to get that before class starts. So you don't wait for me to begin teaching and then say, oh, who has a pencil, who has a pen, etc. Use the appropriate materials in class. For example, if we are doing a graph, do it in pencil. A lot of times on the labs, if we have a lab sheet, people do it in pen. They're like, oh, I messed up. Do you have another? I don't make extra copies of lab sheets or anything like that. So you need to do that in pencil. Moving about the class, basically this is not allowed without teacher permission. Everything is directed, included pencil sharpening. In the process of leaving your seat after permission, you must do so quietly without disturbing others. Not doing so will result in disciplinary action. In such instances as labs or other activities, again, I will give instructions. You are expected to adhere to the guidelines. Going to the media center, there's no reason for you to ever go to the media center during my class, period. Number 21, getting materials without disturbing others. Use appropriate materials in class, moving about the room, going to the media center when you finish early. So sometimes I might tell us, number 25, to start your homework in class, and some of you are really smart. You might get your homework done. So if this happens, we're on number 25, and you've already finished the homework because you find it easy, and you turn it in, go ahead and start something for another class. Number 26, hall passes. Students are only allowed to leave the class with an agenda as outlined in the student handbook. You can only leave for certain situations. No locker passes during class. No telephone passes during class. No vehicle passes. No, you can't go to the soda machine. If you do not have your student ID, you will not be allowed outside of the room for any reason. No eating or drinking in the classroom. Water bottles are permitted, but must only be filled with water. Water bottles must be filled up before entering the class, so I will not let you leave if you want to fill up your water bottle. And you can't have it on your desk. You have to have it on the side. You need to cover your textbooks when we get them. Textbook fines are expensive. The physics textbooks are also very, very expensive. No sunglasses or hats in class. You can have sunglasses on the top of your head. You just can't wear them, and no hats on the top of your head either. Clinic passes are intended for emergencies only. The clinic's not a place to take a nap because you didn't study for the test. Cheating is not permitted. If you cheat on a test or a quiz, you will get a 0 first time. This is your warning. Packing up before the bell rings. Students are not permitted to pack up while the teacher is still teaching. Packing is not permitted before the bell rings or getting up out of your seat. We are not going to stand and congregate by the door. Okay? I will dismiss the class, not the bell. Trash. All trash is to be placed in the wastebasket. Lab sinks, drawers, cubby holes, and those are not wastebaskets. During class, if you have to throw something away, just don't get out of your desk. You need to raise your hand. Dress code. Students will not be allowed in the classroom if they do not adhere to the school dress code guidelines. And I'll just send you down to student services. Whoops. Here we go. Announcements. Sometimes there might be something important. Students are to remain quiet during the announcements. Students are to listen during the announcements. There is important information to be heard. Great. So again, this was on the course description, the syllabus. Question about grades should not be discussed during class time. If you would like to go over a test, come in the morning before school. If there is a question about a grade or a mistake on Edline, print a copy of your progress report and highlight the grade in question. Turn this in. Again, you can talk to me before school. We're not in the middle of class and all of a sudden, hey, why do I have a 0 on this assignment? Because that's a disruption. My job is to teach you during class. And that's it. So make sure that you keep this in your notebook all year if you have any questions on it.